And what's going on, everybody? Oh, guys, I had a little bit of an embarrassing moment right now. I thought that I was live and I was going through, I played the intro, I gave a bunch of shout outs, and then it turned out that I was not here. I was not late. I was not late. I can tell you guys, I was not late. I hit the intro, I started talking, and I realized, why is it not showing the amount of people in the stream? And I realized my dumbass did not press the go live button. So we're going to go back through with the intros, okay? We're going to go back through. What is going on, Robert? First comment in here. He was here 25 minutes before the stream started. That's what's up. We got Duval, I see you. We got Wick Dancer, Robert Adzert, Timmy Devil, Donald Johnson in the building. We got David Bryan. What's going on, my man? Cheek clapping in the building. This is when I realized, he said, "You're late. This is unacceptable." I'm like, what do you mean I'm late? I'm doing this right now. And shout out to Tekken is My World for becoming a member of the channel. I know he's already a member. I don't know if he upgraded or not, but big shout out to Tekken, man. I'm gonna try to do the member live stream next week. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Richmond Gravy Bear in the building. Sea Breacher, where's the music? You know, I thought I had the intro going. I played it. I did my grand entrance, and then I realized I was not live. So I was talking to me, myself, and I. But it's cool. I probably messed up anyway, so it's fine. Biggs 904, what's up, man? What's up, Brett? J-Man in the building. Kiko says, "Yo, I'm in the building. Let's go." What's going on, everybody? 53 people in here so far, man. We're gonna get these numbers up, man. We're gonna break 100 very, very soon. I can already feel it. Tugger not in the building. What's up, man? So guys, before I get into this, I do have a guest joining tonight. I have Jordan DeLugo from GenJag.com. He's been on the channel several times. So he's going to come out here. He's been at pretty much every training camp practice. He is an official member of the media. I mean, he's out there at all the, media only practices. So he's going to be able to give us some really good insight coming up. Before I get into this, man, I do want to real quick go over basically a new sponsor type of thing on the channel. I'm going to be partnering up with Thrive Fantasy this season. You're going to hear me mention these guys a lot. It's essentially going to be a daily fantasy sports type of thing. Also, they're going to do different player props. And, they partner up with me. I put the link down below. I got a promo code. So basically, if you put in the promo code, they're going to match your deposit up to $100. And a really cool thing about this is, let's go ahead and share. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. When you go to thrivefantasy.com, they are a partner of the Jaguars, which is very, very cool. They're going to have some Jaguar only type of like prop bets and stuff like that going on. I'm going to be really starting to push this a lot more really when the season starts, but this is something that's really cool. It's something that I'm going to be, playing a lot really during this really season once it's going on. So it's going to be really, really cool. So you guys can kind of get in early. I put all the links down below as well as an article kind of talking about basically the partnership that they have with the Jaguars. So it's going to be really, really cool. Tekken had to renew. All right, cool. Yeah, that's all good, man. It's good to have you back, my man. Maverick, I'm going to miss the Jags Saints game. I'll be at work. It's all good, man. It's all good. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and introduce into the channel my guy, Jordan DeLugo. What's going on, Jordan?
Yo, how you doing, Dalton?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yo, so I had to I gotta first off apologize to you because, man, I was at training camp. I saw you. I thought I snapped a pretty good picture of you, but you got a way high quality picture of me. What did you do this to show me up, or what's going on here?
No, I just thought, my guy Dalton's in the stands. I thought I'd get a nice shot for you.
Yeah, I just got to know what I was tweeting out. I hope I was putting out some good takes from it. I was pretty much on my phone a lot of time, whether I was videotaping or whether I was spilling takes. But
No, I watched the vlog and everything. It looked good.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I wish I could have recorded more, but man, the Jaguars are very paranoid about letting any information about this team leak out.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I can't really blame a team. Usually the teams that are strict about that ends up being some of the better run organizations, loose lips sink ships, as they say.
It's interesting because like last year, the Jaguars obviously went 1-15. And their one win was week 1. And they were really, I mean, there was no training camp open to public. There was no preseason games. And with all the new players and stuff like that. I think they caught them by surprise when it comes to, actually being able to come out and kind of show off some stuff. Like they didn't know James Robinson. It was Jay Gruden's first year in the system. Laviska Shenault had a big impact. And I don't know, it almost seemed like, maybe last year that probably did play to our advantage early on.
I think it did. The Colts didn't know what to expect. And, that's a 1 week type of advantage, though. You're not going to build a season off of teams not knowing what you're doing. Like, as soon as you play that first game, teams are going to have an idea. So I don't think Urban's the type of guy, based on what he said, that kind of buys into that whole we have to hide everything. I think that's coming more from the NFL assistants that he has on staff, the coordinators, and guys that just have a lot of experience in the NFL. That's just kind of an NFL tradition or stigma where you just don't want to give away anything in the preseason. But I don't think Urban's about that. I think he's the type of guy that, and good teams do this, they're like, yeah, we're running the ball and we're still going to run the ball. Like that's how it is. So you have to impose your will at some point and stop being worried about it. And if you're talking about Monday night against the Saints, I'd be coming out guns a-blazing in the first half with Trevor Lawrence, really trying to get this offense moving. And you don't have to give away your whole playbook, but like Urban Meyer said, run some up-tempo stuff. Just get Trevor Lawrence going and get him in some advantageous situations. You can get him on the move. He's very athletic, accurate on the run. Get him taking some more deep shots. I just think you got to see a little bit more. I mean, the defense wasn't vanilla from what we saw. You saw Andre Sisco line up at every single spot on the field outside of defensive tackle. So I think this is going to be a game where the Jags kind of let it loose on offense a little bit.
Yeah, and I hope, it just didn't seem like they were doing Trevor Lawrence a lot of favors last game when it comes to the offensive play calling. It was a lot of going deep. I would like to see some maybe shorter plays this time, maybe some slants or something like that. Just like get the passing game going a little bit before you're just sending everybody deep, which I don't know, it kind of felt like they were doing.
Yeah, well, you had the few short passes to Visca early on, which I think helped him out. But 9 passes, 11 total dropbacks, 15 total plays. You got to get it going. You got to give him some more reps than that, in my opinion, in week 2. And I think if you get it going and get the offense kind of humming in the first half, you don't really need to see much more in week 3. Then you're just getting ready for Houston.
I would go out there, play at least a half, and then maybe a little bit into the third quarter, then just sit the guys week 3. As long as you see everything you want to see. But, you want to go into week 3 feeling comfortable instead of like, man, what happened last game? Like, we got to go back out there. We got to go, execute. Then all of a sudden it's a little bit of panic mode in a way. And it's like, you don't want to get yourself into that situation. And I just hope they go out there and, kind of establish, because it's tough because, man, like you're having all these rankings on CBS come out about the rookie quarterbacks, like the ranking. And it's like, man, you got Trevor Lawrence had 2 drives, and like so did like Zach Wilson, and like you're so and obviously this is just how it is, man. We overanalyze everything. We finally got a little bit of NFL substance, so we want to break it down and get into everything. But man, like it's it's a long season, and even the Jaguars. It wasn't like the offense went out there and got 2 3 and outs, and that's all we saw. They converted a couple 3rd and longs, and they moved the chains a little bit. They just had it all kind of got stopped on a 4th and 1 draw play, and then kind of had to move on.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Obviously, if Andrew Norwell's in there, I think he gets the job done. Ben Barch is the guy who kind of let the defensive tackle slip in there and make the play on James Robinson, slow him down. But yeah, you got to imagine with James Robinson back there, you're going to get that first down more often than not. But yeah, it was 2 drives, like you said. And I think you'll definitely see more drives, more tempo, and more getting Trevor on the move in week 2 of the preseason.
After this last game, are you concerned about the offensive line, or are you concerned about maybe like right tackle Jawan Taylor? What was your reaction after that game?
Yeah, I think concerned. You don't want to overreact, right? It is just the preseason. But you would also like to see the Jaguars starting offensive line, I know minus Andrew Norwell, but the other 4 starters were out there. You would like to see those guys kind of dominating the Cleveland Browns backups, and they weren't able to do that. I know Cleveland is a well-coached team. They've got depth, but still, this is a starting offensive line. You want to kind of see them dominate, and there was some impressive moments. Certainly, AJ Can gave up the pressure on the first drop back, but after that, he was kind of dominating in the run game. Cam Robinson looked good. Brandon Linder looked good. Jawan, yeah, still a work in progress, and he's coming off a season where he really disappointed. I'm not sure that he's a long-term option. I felt that way before we went into this offseason. I still feel that way. I'm going to need to see some more consistency from him on the right side before I can really feel comfortable about the pass pro as a whole.
We got a couple of super chats I want to get into. Jesus is King says, "Are you concerned with the pass rush and the short passes for defense?" I'll go ahead and go first. Like I'm not as concerned with the short passes because I really do feel like if we go out there starting like CJ Henderson and Shaquille are on the outside, then we have Tyson Campbell on the inside. I think we can kind of stop those short passes. And the pass rush, it was hard to kind of show up this game just because they were getting the ball out so quick. I mean, it was just pretty much drop back and throw. But I mean, with that said, I am a little bit concerned about the pass rush because, outside of Josh Allen, there's really nobody I feel super confident when it comes to someone that can get after the pass rush or get after the quarterback. A lot of the times that's where I'm a little bit concerned. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think, this is a defense that could not rush the passer last year. Obviously, they were not in position to really get after the quarterback a lot with the game scripts. Even that withstanding, I mean, they were awful when it came to getting after the passer. Of course, Josh Allen missed a lot of time. Caleb Von Chason was kind of miscast early on and trying to adjust on the fly. You do have some additions in the offseason that should be able to help a little bit with the pass rush. And from what we know from the Baltimore Ravens defense, you're going to manufacture pass rush and cover on the back end. That's the strategy, not just get 4 guys, 4 down linemen, and create pressure that way. No, Joe Cullen's going to blitz. So I still need to see it, because he's never been a defensive coordinator at the NFL level. He's never called plays at the NFL level. So you need to see that he's able to dial up those blitzes and get them home and that the players can do it. I think Joe Cullen can do that, and I think that the players that they have in place on the defensive front can adapt to his scheme and kind of get after the quarterback. But we haven't seen it. So is there some concern? Yes.
And it's interesting to me because, we all talk about how we're freaked out about the pass rush, Trevor Lawrence holding the ball too long. But can we talk about how we were stopping the run pretty well? I mean, we were so bad last year, especially toward the end of the season when guys were just falling down. Do we not remember week 17? I guess we were just closing our eyes through it all, but Jonathan Taylor just completely running wherever the hell he wanted to. I mean, that was much improved, and I think that is an awesome sight because if we can start stopping the run, then our defense becomes a lot more versatile.
Yeah, and you don't want to overreact to what we saw there either. Again, it was against backups, but they gave up 1.6 yards per carry, and trying to run up the middle was tough sledding. The encouraging thing about that is you saw it in that game, and you've seen it throughout training camp practices. The run defense looks solid. You've got so many guys up there up front that are really good against the run. When you talk about Malcolm Brown, Devon Hamilton, Roy Robertson Harris, Jay Tufele has been making some plays. Doug Costin, he balled out as an undrafted rookie last year. He's really good against the run. Adam Gotsis makes plays against the run. Smoot, Allen. I mean, the list goes on. And then you look at the linebackers now. Miles Jack and Damian Wilson can both kind of roll downhill and thump.
Yeah, and it's crazy the defensive line because, man, there's just so much new on a defensive line. It's a lot to unpack right now, and I'm excited to kind of see how it plays out. I'm gonna get to Steve's question real quick. Cable Fish with a $5 donation. Thanks so much, man. If you have a question for us, Cable, definitely throw it down here. But Steve with a $10 donation, he says, "I'm going to call it now. They keep 7 wide receivers on the roster: Chark, Jones, Chenault, Treadwell, Johnson, Agnew, and I can't decide between Austin and Dorsett, mainly because we paid Agnew for return man." Now, what are your thoughts on how many wide receivers the Jaguars keep?
I agree they're keeping 7, and I don't think it's much of a contest between Austin and Dorsett. Austin was brought in, and don't get me wrong, he has played very well in training camp for the Jaguars and got his score in the preseason contest. But Tavon Austin was brought in as a camp body. He was brought in late. He was brought in partially because of injuries to guys like Philip Dorsett. I think Dorsett is a lock to make the roster. Saw it earlier this week where he makes a one-handed grab deep down the sideline from Trevor Lawrence. That's why he's here. I kind of look at him as a three-point shooter. He's not going to make every shot, but when he does, it's going to be a big shot or it's going to be a big play down the field for you with Philip Dorsett. And Trevor is a guy that can get him the ball down the field when he's open. So I think it's going to clearly be Dorsett, and I agree with the rest of them. Treadwell has done more than enough to earn a spot. Colin Johnson's not going anywhere. Jamal Agnew, like you said, he's going to be the starting kick returner. He's a beast of a return man. I don't know if anybody's seen any of the scrimmage or training camp highlights, but he's a wonderful punt and kick returner, and he's done pretty darn good as a receiver as well. Then you've got Shark, Jones, and Chenault. They're all locked in as well.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point on the Dorsett thing. I mean, you're a guy, you've been out to pretty much every training camp out there, so you've seen a lot more Dorsett than somebody like me has. I mean, when I look at it, I think roster locks are definitely Chark, Jones, Chenault, and probably Colin Johnson, and definitely Agnew, given the amount of money he was given. I think Treadwell makes a team. I mean, I saw a lot of impressive things out of him from the 2 training camps I went to. And then, I mean, if you keep 7 guys, I guess, they're going to keep 1 less tight end if that's the case. And isn't Agnew, he was a guy that was like a wide receiver / cornerback hybrid, right? Or is he getting all his snaps at wide receiver right now?
Right. He did play corner in college, and he played some corner in Detroit before coming over here. But he had transitioned over to wide receiver, and he's full-time wide receiver. He has not been taking any defensive snaps.
Yeah. So do you think that the Jaguars do want to keep in 7 wide receivers?
I do. Urban wants to be explosive. You look at Chark, Jones, and Chenault, they are locks, obviously. I think Colin Johnson and Jamal Agnew are locks for a reason we've discussed. Dorsett as well. Then you look at Treadwell. He's just been too good, in my opinion, to let go. If you have a Shark, Jones, or Chenault injury, having Treadwell be able to step up, I think, would be huge for this team. And he hasn't gotten it done in the past, but I think he's got a new mindset. He's kind of talked about the mentality he's gone into this offseason with and into training camp with, how it's been helping him out. He's got the physical ability to get it done, and I think you're kind of seeing that come to fruition in training camp.
Yeah. Shout out to David Bryan with the $5 donation. He asked, should ETN be used in more plays against the Saints? I mean, absolutely, but I don't know. Is this another case of being paranoid about letting too much out, or is it just did it just not work out in his favor last game when it comes to kind of getting ETN the ball?
Yeah, I think it was the latter, probably. Even if they're not trying to show much, I mean, he got 1 carry and 1 target, and the 1 target went way over his head from Gardner Minshew. He had green grass.
Oh man, I wanted to see what happened if he caught that. Oh man.
So yeah, I definitely think you don't need to get him a ton of work, but get him in space a little bit. If you could just hit him in the flat, or get him a little bit of space on the outside, you want to see those legs churning and getting some yards for you. He's got the big playability. It's not a big deal if Travis Etienne doesn't really get going in the preseason, but you got to give him a little bit more than 2 opportunities in a game.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Etienne. I mean, you're a guy that you've been out a lot of practices. I mean, how much where all is Etienne is like when it comes to, I know you don't have a certain pitch count, but like how often are you seeing him working in the backfield versus like in the slot or like on the outside? Like where all are you kind of seeing him at?
I don't, like you said, I don't have a pitch count. I do think he's going to work more at running back than he is at receiver, but maybe 75-25 type of situation, 75% running back snaps, 25% receiver. And some of the times when he's lined up at running back, it will be to try to catch a pass out of the backfield as well. So I think he'll be lined up more in the backfield than at receiver, but you'll see him plenty at receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of see how we wind up using him. A couple more shout outs. Be New with a $5 donation. He says, just supporting Jags Nation. Thank you, Be New. You are the man. Also, another shout out to Jordan Main with a $2 donation. Thank you so much, my man. And we do have another question from Cable. He's just basically saying, like, should we trade one of our quarterbacks? Now, I'm not going to get on a Gardner Minshew rant, but do you think that Gardner Minshew, I mean, do you think he's going to provide any trade value for the Jaguars? And do you see us moving him at any point?
Not at this moment. I think if you have an injury to a team that's competing at some point in the season, then sure, I think they'll be looking towards Gardner Minshew as a potential trade candidate. I think he's more valuable on the roster than off it. Personally, he's the type of guy that can kind of create chaos when he comes in the game. I don't think you want him starting a ton of games for you, but can he get you through a 4 or 5 game stretch? Probably. Can he get you through a game where your starting quarterback goes down and maybe he's only out a week or two? I think he can definitely do that and kind of come in, like I said, cause some chaos. And he's going to not really operate within the offense, probably, in most offenses. He's going to work outside of structure and create some of that Minshew magic. I think it's still there, but certainly it's not as exciting or promising as what you were thinking coming out of his rookie year.
Yeah, I think that's what's tough about Minshew when it comes to actually potentially maybe working out a trade with the team because, like, you know, if you look at him, his best plays come from like off script type of stuff. And I don't think coaches like that because you can't really draw up like, you know, okay, what we're gonna do, the right guard's gonna miss his block, so you're gonna kind of run, bounce over to the left, and you're going to, you know, find this guy after he breaks off of his route. I mean, we all whenever we think of Minshew, when we think of his like marquee game, it was that game in Denver, which I was actually at when, you know, he made a couple cool escapes and found Armstead on one and then Cole on another just regular play. So we'll continue to see with Gardner Minshew, but I know I'm not going to be giving him too much airtime just because, you know, I mean, we're about to get into the season. I'm not backup quarterback talk isn't really the most like really ideal thing right now, but
I'm with you on that.
yeah, so I mean, I know it's big discussion. I guess I don't know. I guess a lot of people do like Gardner Minshew. I think a lot of people are just always trying to see, okay, what can we really get for him? But yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is probably hold on to him. Wait till a team gets desperate. I mean, we were able to get a 3rd round pick for Dante Fowler like a couple years ago, just because, you know, the Rams were in a bind and really needed a, you know, player. So, you know, maybe something similar like that happens with a team that's not afraid to trade, you know, draft capital away, you know, like the Rams have been.
Yeah. And he'll be under contract this year and next. So you've got some time to just wait for a desperate team to pick up the phone and call you. And you can do your best to fleece them.
Richmond wants to know, Jordan, how nice has Robinson been looking?
I mean, he's a stud. He's the RB1 over Travis Etienne for a reason. Despite what the depth chart says, where he or Carlos Hyde is the starting running back. No, James Robinson is the starting running back. He is excellent carrying the ball. He is excellent catching the ball. He's excellent in blitz pickup. I think he's faster than he was last year, more explosive. And I think beating him the rock is always going to be a good idea.
Yeah. And guys, just so you know, we're here with Jordan DeLugo. I put his link down below to his Twitter account. He's on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, and he's also runs Generation Jaguar. And Gen Jag, they're in the description of all my videos, so you guys can find them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those things, as well as just the website, genjag.com. So you can kind of find him over there.
David That's Bryan, a good-looking shirt you got on there too.
Oh yeah, this is a Gen Jag exclusive shirt right here. Had to wear for my guy Jordan. You already know.
That's right.
David in here. We are one step away from getting the Jaguars complex. Final vote is next Tuesday. Keeping fingers crossed. Yeah, so that's a big development when it comes to the Jaguars actually getting their own facilities, because they are definitely kind of behind on the 8 ball when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's a deal that's good for the city, good for the team. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen.
And then Keenan McCardell made some Twitter waves basically saying that it's great being at Minnesota because you're out of the dungeon in Jacksonville. And basically, I mean, the Jaguars facility, I mean, it's all in the stadium, so there's not a whole lot of natural sunlight coming in there. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty dark in there, and
Oh, I can
you do
imagine.
feel like you're not, maybe not in a dungeon, but in an enclosed facility. Whereas this new practice complex should be able to have plenty of windows and lighting and all that sort of thing to make it feel a little bit more like you're in Florida, not inside of a dungeon, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I've never really been inside the stadium, but I can imagine. Really, the only thing that sunlight comes in is that big glass, where the TIA bank below that in front of the Jaguar statue. But that's not like the
And
facilities.
that's
That's
in the
just like a common
club,
area.
so it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So other
not
than that,
really.
it's just like, you're literally just around what fluorescent lighting everywhere you go.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
it's
dark walls for the most part.
yeah. I know just being in offices like that, it can be depressing, but especially over there where you're literally like, when you're not sleeping, you're pretty much there. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
something that
you're in
everybody put an
Jacksonville, you're in
emphasis on.
Florida.
I know
Like,
you're in Florida, man.
get some windows out there, get some natural air.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So do you think? So Cameron says, which tight ends do you think make the roster? So the Jaguars, to me, I think if there's anything that we're going to go after when it comes to like the waiver wire cuts, I think it's probably tight end or linebacker, potentially. What do you think about the Jaguars tight end situation? And how many do you think? 3 make the roster? 4? What do you think is going to go on?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about it today. It'd be real nice if Josh Oliver was still around. He's making some waves over in Ravens camp. He's looking like he's their tight end 3, going to be
Yeah.
a little pass catching option for them. But yeah, as far as what the Jaguars have now, you're looking at Chris Manhertz as your, blocking tight end. James O'Shaughnessy can do a little blocking. He's going to be your best receiving tight end on the roster right now. And then Luke Farrell, he's going to be a blocker as well that I think has a little bit of pass catching upside. And I don't really see anyone else making it. Tebow's gone. Ellefson, you like some of what he's done, but, that's a guy you can probably stash on the practice squad if you really want to keep him around. And then, I agree with you that there's a good potential if a decent tight end gets released on a team that has a lot of depth, that the Jaguars could go get him.
Yeah, that's where James O'Shaughnessy came from. He was cut by
Right.
the Patriots in 2017, and 4 years later, he's still around. And the Jaguars, the first 3 weeks of the season, have the number 1 waiver wire priority. So,
Right.
they're going to be able to get their first choice of, whoever gets cut by their teams once they turn the roster down to 53, which I don't think the Jaguars have really ever had. So that's going to be kind of cool. But you mentioned Josh Oliver. I was also kind of, even when the move happened, I'm like, why just get rid of him for nothing? Just try him out. We'll see what he has. And the Jaguars, since they're so slim at tight end, it's like, what would it hurt just to see what he has? And if we had to cut him, just cut him.
It was a mistake, obviously.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's going to have a role in Baltimore. That's a program that you're trying to emulate in Jacksonville, and they just stole a potential receiving threat from you. So,
and that's like, they talk about in college tight end university, DB university. The Ravens are tight end university basically. They churn them out, and gosh, they've had in the existence of the Jaguars, they probably had 15 better ones than our second or third best one. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. And that's what good teams do. Josh Oliver, I guess the Jaguars were not keen on keeping him. I think from what Urban had said about that at the time when it happened, it sounded like it was kind of a bulky idea. Like somebody presented the idea to him,
Exactly.
and he didn't really know much about Oliver.
Yeah,
So he was
Urban
like,
didn't
all
know
right.
anything about it. He's just like, yeah, they kind of told me,
Yeah, and
didn't play a lot.
hopefully he'll kind of take notice of how the situation has played out. And maybe that can be a learning lesson for Urban during his first year in the NFL here.
Yeah. David Bryan asks, basically talking about Laviska Shenault as the fantasy receiver for the Jaguars this season. Who are you like? Are there any Jaguars this year that you're kind of targeting in fantasy football, or is it? Because to me, it's a little bit of a situation I'm almost a little bit afraid to dig into because there's so many weapons out there. Like I'm almost like, okay, I'm going to draft, Trevor Lawrence later on, and that might be it, just because there's so many mouths to feed right now.
Yeah, obviously in leagues where it's heavy Jacksonville people,
That's true.
Lawrence isn't going to last very long, I would say. But if you're talking about a receiver, just take Marvin Jones. He's the guy that is getting drafted behind DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. He's been very consistent throughout his career. Uh, I think that's the easy choice there. I think I'd take Shenault at his ADP over Chark as well, just because Chark is often injured. Um, he's not really getting any reps right now. He is taking mental reps and he is running routes, but he's not able to catch passes. So I just think he's behind the eight ball a little bit, and Chenault is kind of going to get force fed some of those easy ones. He's going to get a lot of catches. I think Marvin Jones, though, will probably end up being the leader in receptions for the Jaguars.
Yeah. And Steve says Josh Oliver until week 1 when he gets hurt. So we'll see if he can avoid the injury bug. I mean,
Fair enough.
so far I think he's outlasted it from his last two. I don't know. I don't know if he's ever playing the preseason or not.
Yeah, I mean, he did not play preseason during his first year. Andrew Wingard tackled him from behind during a one-on-one drill after he got beat and injured him there. Kind of put his rookie year on ice, unfortunately. And then I can't remember what he dealt. He dealt with a non-contact injury, something in his leg, I believe, last year as well during training camp. So yeah, it's just really unfortunate. But are you going to bet on a guy, Josh Oliver or Tim Tebow? I mean,
Yeah.
it was a much easier pathway to Josh Oliver being successful. So, you know.
So we were kind of talking about DJ Chark, and I made a video basically about some guys that I think are trending up and down, and then I threw DJ Chark in there before the injury about a guy that's potentially trending down for me for a couple of reasons. One, like I got a little bit because there wasn't really a lot of stuff at camp coming out. Oh man, DJ Chark made an incredible catch. It was all like guys like Laviska Shenault and like Marvin Jones is getting a lot of hype, and then also just with Urban Meyer really like working with him a lot, during the practices when it comes to one-on-one stuff, and then even Urban Meyer kind of calling him out. I was a little bit like, okay, I don't know, something just feels a little bit off about DJ Chark. I don't know, like, how are you feeling about DJ Chark's training camp? I guess before the injury, did you think he was a guy that is kind of trending down to you in a bit of a way, or
well, he was matching up with Shaquille Griffin for the majority of his reps, and he is the X receiver. So generally speaking, the X receiver is going to get the opposing team's top corner. It'll be interesting to see how opposing defenses do handle the Jaguars wide receivers this year, if that ends up being the case on a week-to-week basis. But yeah, I think Chark was fine. I don't think he was making as many plays as Visca or Marvin, but yeah, he was still making his fair share of plays. And as long as he's healthy, or when he does become healthy, I think he'll continue to make plays, but he will probably draw the more difficult assignments when it comes to who's covering him in the regular season. So I'm not down on DJ Chark. I do think it's a prove-it year. He's going into his 4th year. He's had one good season so far. So, yeah, he needs to have a good season. If he doesn't, he's not going to be the hot commodity that he was, that we were thinking he was going into this year, if he doesn't have a big year here.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, after the end of this season, I mean, wide receiver is going to be a huge need with DJ Chark. His contract will be up, so you got to make a decision on that. Marvin Jones, 1 year left on his deal. Then, you just have you have Laviska Shenault, who's obviously going to still be around. So it's like, what are you going to do there? Are we going to invest into DJ Chark, or is there going to be maybe we bring Al Robinson back or something like that? And that's kind of when I was almost thinking about the whole. I know this is more of a topic a week or two ago, but with CJ Henderson acting up a little bit, we didn't really know what was going on with that, and then simultaneous to that, we had all the Michael Thomas drama. And I said, look, like, I'm not about trading CJ Henderson for draft picks because I'm done with that. I'm done with the whole flipping, these great players over for draft capital. That doesn't usually amount to anything. But I mean, if you were to go, throw CJ Henderson plus a draft pick for Michael Thomas or something like that, who's a, former all pro type of player, he had one down year. that could be something I'd go after. So I wonder, like, what were your thoughts during that whole entire thing? Obviously, the situation is different now. CJ Henderson came back in a big way, and it's very encouraging to see that because that looked like it was going to end in kind of a sad story. But I guess going back, what were your whole thoughts on the CJ Henderson situation, the Michael Thomas stuff, and all that?
Well, yeah, how he performed in preseason week 1, I think, is huge for his trade value. I still wouldn't be shocked if the Jaguars aren't completely in love with him, just because you're like, when is something else going to happen that is difficult for us to deal with as a team? But yeah, Michael Thomas, I think it's a no-brainer. Him and Urban Meyer are like best buds. He, kind of gives Urban Meyer a lot of credit for his development at Ohio State. And he's a guy Urban knows how to use. And he's got such good hands. I know people talk about his limited route tree, but he does what he does really damn good. And even when people know what he's doing, it's nearly impossible to stop. Give that to Trevor along with Visca and Marvin. I think you're really cooking there. And as back to Chark, I do think I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here next year talking about a high draft pick receiver to go along with Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault instead of DJ Chark, because this is a guy that's going to think he's worth a lot of money. If he doesn't ball out, I don't see much chance of the Jaguars keeping him. Even if he does ball out, I still could see them potentially moving on, just because while receiver is super important, it's also the easiest position to hit on early in the draft, I think, at this point.
Yeah. And there are certain things like, Jarvin Juice Smith is this. Like, Michael Thomas is a locker room malcontent. Stay away. So these are the kind of comments that I just don't like, because like, how do you know? How do you know who the hell Michael Thomas is and all that stuff? I know he got, he punched somebody in the locker room, but also Andre Johnson punched Cortland Finnegan. Is Andre Johnson a locker room cancer? AJ Green punched Jalen Ramsey. Is AJ Green a locker room cancer? I mean, sometimes he's, I think he got punched by Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Sometimes these guys,
and that's a guy who's always stirring the pot.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
he's a trash
these guys,
talker, big time.
Exactly, man. These guys, they get, you get these little yappers in their ear. Then you have these guys that don't want to deal with it and just kind of put them in their place. And you read Michael Thomas punches this player, and then Michael Thomas becomes the bad guy. But and the thing was, in this situation, if we have any other coach not named Urban Meyer, I'm probably not going to jump on a Michael Thomas situation. But the fact that Urban Meyer did so many good things with Michael Thomas, and Urban Meyer knows exactly what he's getting with Michael Thomas, it's just a lot different. Obviously, the conversation is kind of dimmed down now. It's probably not going to happen. By the time, it was an interesting conversation, but I'm done with the whole
trade him until he's healthy.
Yeah.
So it could be a situation that pops up during the middle of the season.
Yeah, and I know I'm like, I'm done with all the conservative stuff. It's like, oh, we don't need a Michael Thomas. We're good at receiver. It's like, no, we don't have any all pros anywhere. I mean, I guess you could say Miles Jack has kind of been cheaped out of, some, maybe getting some better recognition for what he does. But, outside of that, I mean, Lawrence is a rookie. He's not an all pro yet. And, you know what I mean? It's like, we don't until we have an all pro, we don't have any all pros.
Yeah, outside of quarterback, running back, and Miles Jack's position, I would agree with you. There's no one on the roster right now that's like preventing you from going and getting someone else that's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, and like I said, man, at the end of the season, like, receiver becomes maybe the biggest need on the Jaguars. So it's like, you bring in a guy like Michael Thomas, who's only like, 6 or 7 years into his career. I don't know. It's just that's just my thoughts on it. It's obviously not going to happen, but I think I want to talk about CJ Henderson. I mean, man, it was a scary situation with him, because I know I was a little bit freaked out when it comes to, okay, what's going on with him? Like, he had the groin injury, and all of a sudden a shoulder injury that like lingered into training camp, and then he comes back, he looks really skinny, and then he doesn't look happy, then he misses the scrimmage for personal reasons. It's like, what is going on here? But now, like, he came on, had a really good game last week, and now it looks like he's a full go. So what are your what are your thoughts on the whole CJ Henderson situation?
Yeah, if you can keep him on the practice field and engaged and ready to go for game day, you're talking about one of your starting corners. And I honestly think at this point, you're starting and 2 weeks ago, I was on a completely different page. I thought your three starting corners were Griffin, Campbell, and Sidney Jones. Now I think it should be, as long as you've got CJ and he's good to go. Obviously, Shaquille Griffin's your number one. I think CJ Henderson's your number two, and Sidney Jones is your number three. I like a lot of what I've seen from Tyson Campbell, but that play in the end zone is exactly what plagued him at Georgia, that touchdown when he was guarding Davion Davis. He struggles to locate and attack the ball down the field, and that is a really unfortunate trait for a guy that needs to be doing exactly that at the NFL level.
And it's just funny when you see stuff like that, like you see things that stick out on tape, and then it just happens when they're in your own team's uniform. It's just I mean, it's an amazing thing, and I hope it's I mean, for me, someone who's never played cornerback ever, for me, it's like, oh, how hard is it to turn around, locate, and get up at the ball? But it's probably got to take some adjustment if that's just been a part of your game. And man, that's a huge flaw in your game, because if you're a cornerback, the hard part seems like it's staying on the hip, which he can do very well.
He excels at that.
Yeah, which he's so good at. But it's like, what's the point of? It's like a receiver that runs great routes but can't catch the ball. It's like,
right. And the short area of the field and the intermediate area, I do think he has some ball skills. Like, he's so close, he can just go get the ball. But it's really when you're locating the deep passes down the field, and those are the type of plays that change ball games. So
yeah.
Hopefully he can improve in that area moving forward. But we've seen quite a big sample size during college and now into Jacksonville of him not being able to do that.
And the thing that I thought was cool about Tyson Campbell when I saw him at training camp, there was like one of the receivers was running like a hitch route, and I saw it. I was like, damn, like, Tyson's getting beat here. And then like it was like a rubber band the way he just like came back right on the ball. I mean, he's got some closing speed, like some really good closing speed. Like, I mean, it was definitely super noticeable.
Yeah, it is. He's fast, he's long, and he's just got quick feet that can, kind of let him, like you said, stay attached at the hip to receivers. And he was in good position on that touchdown, but he just, like we said, too late to locate, too late to go up and try to get it.
Yeah. And I guess when you've been watching CJ Henderson out at practice, has his demeanor been changing at all, or is he just seem like an introverted guy that's just, we probably shouldn't worry about his movements too much?
Yeah, I think he's definitely introverted. We've been able to see that for the last year and a half or so. You saw his reaction when he got drafted. Most guys are like, you can visibly see.
What did you think of his draft day reaction? Because when I saw his reaction, I mean, when I looked at it, like it didn't look like a guy that was unhappy to be here. He was just super emotional, and like he just, like, I mean, he was crying. I don't think not a lot of people cry because it's like, I'm going to this, you know what I mean? It looked like a lot more because if a guy gets drafted somewhere that he doesn't want to get drafted, I would think that he'd be pissed off, not crying. I don't know.
I don't think it was that type of situation. I don't know what it was. I mean, I don't know the guy. I watch him in training camp, and he's just, kind of doing his own thing, not getting super amped up, super high or super low. He just has his own way of handling his emotions, and I think we saw that. I don't think it's a concern. I do, you got to worry now that you've had the situation where he kind of didn't show up for the team scrimmage, and then Urban Meyer wouldn't comment on it really, and then now he's back. You got to worry that maybe another shoe drops down the road, but hopefully they can just keep him focused on football. And if that's the case, nothing to worry about.
Lucas wants to know, who was it that got in a fight at training camp? Did you kind of see it go down, or was it just a regular scuffle that happened?
It wasn't like a real fight. I mean, I know it was Laquan Treadwell, and now I'm blanking on who he was beefing
Agnew
with.
or something? Agnew or one of the cornerbacks? Or no, I know who it was. It was a new acquisition, Rudy Ford, right?
I honestly I don't remember. It was the first time you saw anything like that at Jags camp this year, but it was really not that big of a deal.
I mean,
Nothing to really.
rumor has it, I don't know if you can confirm this, but apparently there was a lot of angst after the Tim Tebow cut. Did that have anything to do with the fight?
Is that a joke?
Yes, it was a joke.
He was just so well liked in the locker room, the team doesn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, they don't know what to do without the leader, man.
Right?
It's always funny they brought him in for locker room leadership, and it's like I don't know how much Tim Tebow's breaking the team down and like, come in here, get in here. We got 60 or 30 minutes for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it's funny how that all worked out, but I am glad Urban went ahead and made the move when he did to get rid of him. It was the right move. I didn't necessarily expect it to happen this early, but it was absolutely the right move. He was probably the worst player on the roster.
See, the thing is, I don't necessarily fault Urban Meyer for like bringing him in, but if he kept him around after this, because I think a lot of players can like say, okay, they're giving this guy a chance, but I think it might have pissed some players off if they go from 90 to 85 and Tebow is still on the team. I think that's when maybe it would have been okay, like what's going on here? Like this is big time favoritism. But I know for me, like obviously, I mean, I don't. He got a like Tim Tebow got a chance, and I know for me, like a lot of people like hated it and whatnot, or like, oh, this is very privileged of him to kind of get this opportunity. But I know from a fan perspective, and a guy that grew up really liking Tebow, I thought it was really cool just seeing him in a Jaguar uniform. I saw him right in front of me signing balls and kind of throwing it out there. And I'll be honest, I'm going to remember that probably for the rest of my life. I thought it was a cool experience, for us and us fans. I don't know how much, I don't know. I know for me, for my own selfish reasons, I thought it was kind of cool, but obviously, it was time for him to go.
Yeah, I think fans and media are going to remember it a lot longer than the people inside that building. So, moving on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was like. I mean, people really nitpick different things. Oh, Urban Meyer said this in a press conference. He brought on Tebow. He has no idea what he's doing. It's like, if we're going to be critical of Urban Meyer, let's be critical of him when the season starts, not his opinion about free agency. It's just, sometimes these things get blown up and they're like, Urban Meyer has no idea what he's doing bringing in Tim Tebow. It's like, it gave a guy a chance, and, that was that, obviously.
Yeah, there's been a lot of low-hanging fruit so far in the Urban Meyer experience, but does any of it actually matter? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but we'll find out in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, once the only thing that matters is that win-loss column, and I mean, luckily we start off with some good ones. Hunter Miller with a $5 donation. He says, "Y'all's baby would be beautiful." Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Hunt. He comes in on every stream and says this. He even came in on the Colin Johnson stream and said that.
Awesome.
I did not read it though. I did not read it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't know if that's physically possible, but appreciate the compliment.
So I got to ask you, man, what is going on with this quarterback battle? Is it enthralling seeing the likes of the elite Gardner Minshew versus the overdrafted Trevor Lawrence, or like come on, man, what's going on here? Why can't I just don't understand it at all. People say it's to boost up Minshew's trade value. I don't think Urban Meyer's going in here saying, okay, we got to squeeze a fourth instead of a fifth for this guy. We're going to keep this competition open. I don't understand it, man.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I could understand going into training camp, first week or two, you're kind of looking at it, given the veteran, giving him his shot. But Trevor is just so clearly on a different plane than Gardner Minshew. And at this point, I think it's got to be a little disingenuous. And like, if I was one of the players, I'd be like, okay, what are we waiting on? Like, we need to get Lawrence as many practice reps with the ones as possible. Moving into, we're less than a month away from the start of the regular season. You've got to go win a game week 1 in Houston. do you really not want Trevor Lawrence to be getting as many reps as possible? Like, I don't get it.
It makes no sense to me. I don't think anybody can ever make it make sense to me. Um, I don't know. It's just like at this point, it's like, okay, the charade happened. The competition is over. Trevor Lawrence won. It's not even like, a 50-50 split and, the tie goes to the first overall pick or the veteran. It's like, dude,
No.
like Lawrence is just so much better. And I know the players would much, much rather have him too. It's just like, man, it's it's driving me absolutely nuts. And I don't see, and I'm critical of, this is the biggest thing I've been critical of Urban Meyer about, but I swear I will lose it if this upcoming game, like Lawrence plays behind a backup offensive line. I mean,
I agree. He might have to, though. Not a full
Norwell and
backup
Linder?
offensive line, but Linder's going to be out.
Yeah.
Norwell still hasn't been participating
those are your two best linemen.
fully. Huh?
Yeah, those are your two best linemen that are going to be out on Monday.
Right. And Norwell, I don't think is confirmed to be out, but considering he hasn't fully participated in practice, I would expect him to not play. But we'll see how that all goes. He's still got half a week to get where he needs to be, and he has been participating in individual drills and stuff like that. But yeah, you don't want to put him behind the backup tackles, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely not. And shout out to everyone in the chat, man. We have 178 people in here right now. I'm here with Jordan DeLugo from GenJag.com. I put his Twitter link down below. Also, I have all the links to Generation Jaguar down there as well. Definitely drop likes if you guys can, man. Definitely helps out the channel, and we're going to be, going all out once the season starts, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, big shout out to all the members of the channel for all you guys do to kind of help out with everything involved in this channel. So, what are some? I guess for this upcoming, I do want to answer this question real quick. Lucas, the fantasy opened up in a couple weeks. I'm gonna make a video going over everything for the actual fantasy leagues for the members. So just be looking out for that video. I don't usually like to start fantasy until right before the season starts, just because of injuries and stuff like that. But definitely look out for that, man. But I'll get you down, man. So I guess for this upcoming Monday Night Football game, man, what are some things that you really want to happen?
I guess I'd like to see the defense be able to take care of some screens. Because the Saints got to be like chomping at the bit to get out there and just run some screens. I would be if I was Sean Payton, that's for sure. Yeah, stopping screens. You want to see them continue to be able to play well against the run. Maybe you could get to see Tyson Campbell make a play down the field. That would be very encouraging. Andre Sisco continuing to excel would be awesome. A good step towards him being in the starting lineup come week 1 of the regular season. On offense, we kind of talked about it. You want to see some tempo. You want to see them getting Trevor Lawrence on the move a little bit, getting some more easy throws, and putting him in advantageous situations to get this offense rolling. You don't want him going into week 1 of the regular season not having had a successful drive in preseason. That's not what you want. So do your best to go out there and not give away the playbook, but get some tempo going and kind of use some concepts that Trevor is comfortable with executing early on.
Yeah.
And get Travis Etienne the ball a little bit.
And one thing that's kind of encouraging, it looks like we have a bunch of hits on some of our draft picks for this year. I mean, some guys are definitely flashing. Obviously, we all know about Trevor Lawrence, but Etienne, I can't wait to see how we end up using him. And Walker Little looks like he's going to be really good. And obviously Campbell needs to locate the ball. But Andre Sisco, man, he might be, I mean, that guy could turn out to be really good.
Yeah, it's incredible. So this is a rookie. He didn't really play much last year because he tore his ACL. Came into camp, looked good to go from the jump. And not only is he mastering being a safety, but he's literally lining up outside corner, nickel corner, in the box as a linebacker. And he was even lined up on the line of scrimmage in a 2-point stance. all those different areas of the game and all those different packages for the Jaguars, he excelled. He was always right where he was supposed to be. So if he can continue that, he's got a clear path to becoming a starter. And J2 is a guy no one really talks about because he's kind of buried on the depth chart and fourth round pick, but I think he's going to really impress as the season goes on, as well as he continues to earn more reps, because he can absolutely stop the run, and I think he can get after the passer too on the interior.
Yeah, I think Joe Colin's gonna love Cisco, man, because like Joe Colin's the kind of guy I think he likes to have those pieces that you can kind of put wherever. And I mean, you can do a lot with a physical guy like that that can also cover and also has a knack for getting his hands on a ball. I mean, he had a lot of interceptions at Syracuse, so I
Oh
mean
yeah,
it's
and Jordan Smith, real
oh
quick,
yeah.
the second fourth round pick, the guy they traded up for. I was a little critical of that move. Um, he was able to set the edge really well. He got in there for a few tackles around the line of scrimmage, kind of helping that run defense uh, slow down the Browns' rushing attack. And then he also got a batted pass at the line of scrimmage, backed up in the red zone, which was a huge play for the defense at that time. So he's a guy that really impressed me. Now, that was late in the game against probably third stringers, but really good start for Jordan Smith in his first preseason game.
Now, obviously the Jaguars just traded Joe Schobert away. So when it comes to the backup guys, I mean, how do you feel about Shaq Quarterman and who's the guy lining up out the what is it, Dakota Allen?
Yeah, they've got Dakota Allen, Chappelle Russell, and Quincy Williams still.
Quincy Williams, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I think Shaq is clearly the third linebacker right now. They've really liked what they've seen. They've kind of raved about him, and
Yeah, and he
over
got a
the
lot
last
of
few
reps
weeks,
this last game. I mean, he played
yeah,
pretty much the whole time.
right, and he made some plays on special teams as well, and so he's a guy. Jaguars, the way it is right now, and it's the way it usually is in the NFL, but especially with the Urban Meyer team, if you're a backup, you got to be able to make an impact on special teams. Quarterman certainly does that. After Quarterman, I think you've got more questions than answers, but I would say Chappelle Russell is probably in line to be the fourth linebacker behind Quarterman there, just because I think he moves a little bit better than Dakota Allen, and I think he packs a little bit more of a punch, a little bit more athletic. So I think he would be in line to be the fourth linebacker. And I'm not sure if they keep more than that, especially considering how they're using their safeties in the box, kind of lining them up at linebacker.
Yeah, isn't it crazy we threw a third round pick at Quincy Williams? Like, my God, man.
Yeah,
Just
such a reach, man.
just some I mean, we did the Josh Oliver and Quincy Williams that same third round because that was from the Dante Fowler trade.
Yeah,
And it was just like both those were just
Oliver was
huge
a good pick.
reaches.
I don't
But
think
he
I
was
don't
kind
think
of a
Oliver
reach
was
though,
a reach.
right?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he was definitely in that range. Because when you talk about a tight end who had some production in college, has that size and that athleticism, the potential to be a real seam stretcher, I think the third round pick was definitely warranted for him. But for Quincy, despite what Kyle Shanahan might have said or what Dave Caldwell might have said, I think it was a reach in the third round.
So we got a guy in here that reads your work. He says, "Hey Jordan, I saw your prediction on the depth chart and saw that you put Daniel Thomas on the practice squad and Wingard making the 53 man. Why is that?"
Right. I like Daniel Thomas a lot more than Wingard as a safety. But again, I was just talking about it. If you're going to be a backup for the Jaguars, you're going to have to make big special teams impact. It's not that I don't think Daniel Thomas can, but he's been on the reserve/COVID list for some time. He's still not fully back to practicing. He has been working off to the side a little bit, which is encouraging. But Andrew Wingard is a stud on special teams. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
getting around it. I'm not a fan of him as a safety at all. If he has to get into the game for any extended period of time at safety, the Jaguars defense is going to suffer for it. But when you talk about what he does for that special teams unit, it's a big impact, and I think they're not going to move on from that.
Yeah, and Urban Meyer here and there has said some really good things about Wingard. He says, "Yeah, I mean, he really likes him for special teams." And I mean, he's a guy that, I mean, he's just a high effort player. I mean, he looks lost out there at safety sometimes, but man, he just kind of flies around. And looks like he has a lot of passion for the game. And I mean, he makes some plays on special teams. We've just been so bad when it comes to our depth where, ideally he never sees a field on defense, but we've had to put ourselves in situations where we're having to really rely on Wingard, out there playing. But, now, I mean, Jaguars did a lot of work when it comes to shoring up, their whole entire defensive backfield. So I don't think that's something that we're going to have to, deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're looking at Wingard getting on the field, you've probably got more than 2 injuries at safety. So,
yeah. Harry Drury says, love the show. Thank you, man. Thank you. We got some
Harry.
Original content here, man. There's not, you don't really get many, fan driven, live stream type of talks out here on and Jaguar Nation. So we're happy that you guys can all be a part of it and kind of talk with us, and you guys make the show better. I think that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I love answering the questions and interacting with everyone. It's a good time.
Yeah, and you can sit here and defend things such as your Dewey Wingard on 53-man roster. We had you on to defend your Justin Fields as QB1.
That's right.
It was that was cool of Justin Fields. He had a pretty good first day. It just stinks when, because you almost can't compare Justin Fields to Trevor Lawrence's game because they played just the reps were so much different and the time of the game was so much different too.
Yeah, different game plans, different teams they're playing against. Fields, obviously, he started a little slow, but turned it on real quick and got that Bears offense humming. He looked how I would expect him to look, honestly. He was holding on to the ball for a while, which he tends to do because he's always trying to kind of let something develop downfield, but it was an impressive start for Justin Fields. I think the Panthers, the Broncos, every team that could have a potential quarterback need that didn't take Fields has got to be kicking themselves a little bit.
Why did the Broncos pass up on him? I guess I can understand Panthers from a certain perspective because I don't like Darnold, but at least they kind of made a move to kind of get a quarterback and they're kind of committing to him. But man, if you're the Broncos, it's you got a pretty decent roster, and I think you've had Drew Lock over there for some time. You kind of know what. I don't know. It's just it would have driven me nuts if that happened if I was a Bronco fan.
Yeah, Locke is still young, but I just think we've seen enough to say he's probably not ever going to be a franchise quarterback. And you had Justin Fields sitting there in your lap and you just passed on him.
Man, imagine what that AFC West could have been with Herbert, Mahomes, and Justin Fields. Man, that would have been I'm glad he went to the NFC.
Derek Carr slander.
Oh yeah,
I'm kidding.
He's
Derek Carr. He's not bad. He's not bad.
Derek Carr is top 20. I'll give him that.
He's in the mid-teens, I'd say.
But it sucks nowadays because Derek Carr, he's a good quarterback, but nowadays in the NFL, he's replaceable. You know what I mean? That's where we are in the NFL now. It's you have to have elite guys or else, it's just crazy.
And they've never surrounded him with enough talent either and given him a quality defense or anything like that. So I do feel for the guy because he's a good quarterback, but he's a guy that, like you said, if he's your starter, you're probably down to replace him sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you, so I guess from your perspective, man, are you going out to any more practices, or how much longer can the media kind of go to these different practices?
I don't know how long it's going to last, but I know I'm going tomorrow and Friday, and then those are the last 2 open practices before their Monday night contest against the Saints in New Orleans. So I know I'll be out there for that, and I haven't seen the rest of the schedule after that.
Yeah, so guys, Jordan does a really good job during practice about really tweeting everything that's going on out there. So he's a really good follow on Twitter. So I got his Twitter link down in the description. And one thing Robert brings up, this Urban looks sick on the sidelines. I did want to talk about Urban Meyer a little bit, just because, for me, I've been going to training camp practices since the Del Rio era. And, I noticed when you went from Del Rio, we'll forget Mike Mularkey was here. So from Del Rio to Gus Bradley, I noticed, they brought in the music and it was kind of up tempo and everything. And it was kind of cool. And then you went from Gus Bradley to Doug Marrone. It was kind of the same type of thing. And then, but it's just been a big change from really Doug Marrone to Urban Meyer, because Doug Marrone and Gus Bradley, they kind of sat back and watched everything that went on. They were just big time overseers. But man, like Urban Meyer does one-on-one work with all these guys. He sits there and just puts pressure on these guys standing right next to them. I mean, I remember when Josh Lambo, one of the practices I went to, he was standing right next to Josh Lambo on these like field goal attempts. It's like, man, this guy puts pressure on these guys, but it's not like he's a Tom Coughlin where he's just like way over disciplinary. I mean, he literally works one-on-one with these guys, getting them better and stuff like that. It's like it's a certain respectability level as opposed to just pointing them and telling them to do this.
Yeah, the individual attention he gives to every player, and then when you look at the positional drills that aren't individual, but every time there's a drill going on, he's at one of those drills trying to help out his coordinator or his that positional coach, trying to help instill the message. And I think he practices what he preaches when it comes to giving the players the individual attention and the best that they can possibly get. And I think that will resonate with a lot of guys.
Yeah. And I know one person.
So what does he mean Urban looks sick on the sideline?
I think he just means he looks cool, like sitting there with a Jaguar on his shirt. And I know like the Jaguars Twitter account kind of posted out kind of a slow-mo of him walking out on the field. And it's definitely, I mean, from someone I grew up a Gator fan and I was a kid when they had the national championship runs, it's very cool seeing Urban Meyer in a Jaguar shirt.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, you see my Gator stuff on the wall behind me. I'm a Gator fan, obviously, too. I thought he was saying, like, literally Urban Meyer looks sick on the sideline. I was like,
no.
What?
Come on, man.
He's sick of seeing this wallowing offense.
You got to get with the lingo of today, man. But yeah, it's I mean, it's just surreal even seeing them talk about the Jaguars and talk about the roster and stuff like that. It's just I don't know. It's just it's really cool, and I really hope this works out the way we all want it to, because man, it seems like it's to be something really special.
Yeah, it could be. Obviously, a lot of college coaches, it's tough to make this transition, and Urban has talked a lot about some of the things he has not enjoyed with the transition. And I hope he keeps that same enthusiasm and tries to do things his way. Obviously, you need to adapt and you need to be reasonable, but I think Urban Meyer's way of building programs is tried and true, and I don't think that it's too much for the NFL. I think that it can be done as long as he manages everything tactfully.
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask one more thing before we kind of close this out. There were some people kind of talking about Dylan Moses. Do you think Dylan Moses is a guy that's gonna be kind of put on the IR and we stash him, and then he'll come back beginning of next season into training camp and stuff like that healthy, or how do you think we're gonna deal with him?
Well, yeah, he's definitely not healthy right now. I do think he will be put on the IR, and hopefully. I just hope for his own sake that he can get healthy and play football again, because it's been a long time since he's been healthy, and he's a super talented football player. That could be, maybe they're kind of holding that card in their back pocket, hoping that they can, get Dylan Moses to full health moving into 2022 and maybe have a steal, a guy that could be a starting linebacker that could be a quality starting linebacker.
Yeah, and especially after the Joe Schobert, we kind of get him out of here. I mean, it could be a cool competition that Dylan Moses can kind of get into the mix, and we can kind of see where the linebacker is at that. But all right, guys, it's been a fun time, man. We had over 150 people in here the whole time, so that was a lot of fun, man. Definitely a big shout out to Jordan for coming in here, man. Really appreciate having you in here, man.
Shout out to you. Happy to come on. I always have a great time.
Yeah, man. So you got anything cool coming up on Gen Jag soon?
Well, I did the 53-man roster today. I was just thinking about doing something fun tomorrow, but now I can't remember what it is. But yeah, I'll get out articles pretty much every day, and I will be at camp tomorrow and Friday, so you can follow along. Practices from 1 to 3 both days. So I'll be out there live tweeting it. Everything I see, I'll be tweeting about and trying to keep you guys updated.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, man, his description to his Twitter account is in a link below, so definitely go give him a follow. But all right, guys, man, till next time, I'll be having a preview video out here probably Friday. I got to hear more from Urban about what exactly we're going to do here. But hopefully, I would expect we're going to see Trevor Lawrence starting because I don't think Urban Meyer's an idiot. But, I'd expect all that. But all right, guys, thank you so much for being here, and go Jags.